All right, my name is Michael Carter. I'm the CDL program head at Rappahannock Community College. We're going to be going through a pre-trip inspection this morning of a Class A vehicle, truck and trailer. If you're taking my class, this will be the truck and trailer that you test with at DMV. So this pre-trip inspection will help you greatly. All right, so we're going to first things first, we're going to start out with chalking our wheels 6 inches in the front and 6 inches in the back. All right, wheels are chalked. Now we're going to get into the truck using 3 points of contact. Open up your door. You got handrails all over the place, and just work your way right on in. And we switch up to here. Now I'm in the vehicle. All right, we're on the inside of the tractor now, and we're going to do our pre-trip inspection on the end cab. All right, now, first of all, you're going to get this checklist from DMV when you go to do your pre-trip. This is identically what they use. This is actually one of their sheets. All right, so we're going to go down the checklist and check it off as we go. I'm going to show you what we're actually checking under each of these boxes and categories as we go. So I'm inside the truck. The next thing I'm going to do is something I call 3 things for me, or 3 for me. I'm going to start by checking my seat belt. All right, as I put it on, I'm going to describe it, say it's not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. It latches, and it's not missing any nuts, bolts, or screws. Then I'm going to reach down and adjust my seat. All right, for me, seat's adjusted. Then I'm going to make sure my mirrors are adjusted for me. And when I do, I'm going to describe my mirrors as well and say they're not chipped, cracked, or broken, not missing any nuts, bolts, or screws. They're clean and clear. All right, those are the 3 things for me. Now I'm going to do one thing for the truck, and that's a safety start. So I'm going to come over here and check, make sure that both my brake valves are out, make certain that I'm in neutral, and I'm going to cut the truck to the on position. Now, when I cut the truck to the on position, you're going to see the ABS lights come on and off. I got to talk about them here on the dash as well as on the side of my trailer, and then I'm going to point out how many bars of depth I have. So let's cut it to the on position. ABS lights are right there. They came on and went off. They also came on and went off on the side of my trailer, and I have 4 bars of depth. All right, so we're all good now. It's time to actually start the truck. All right, once I start the truck, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is ranges. Talking about where the air governor is going to kick out. It should kick out between 120 PSI and 140 PSI. And then we wait until it kicks out. It just kicked out. It had that little psh sound, and it kicked out at 130 PSI. All right, so now I'm on my list. I'm going to start my air and hydraulic brake check, what we call the air leakage test. All right, this one has to be done exactly, perfectly correct, so please make sure you follow these directions. All right, so first, we got to do our ranges. That's where it starts. Now I'm going to do something I'm going to say called first is first, which means I'm going to put it in first gear. All right, then the second thing I'm going to do is cut the truck off and then cut it back to the on position. All right, so first is first. Second is a 2-part thing. I got to cut the truck off, then cut it back on. All right, my third step, I'm going to press both my brake valves in. And I shouldn't lose more than 3 PSI once the air settles. All right, I'm going to lose a lot before it settles. But once it goes quiet, my air needles on the air gauges should not move. It just went quiet, everything's still. So I didn't lose more than 3 PSI once the air settled. Now, the next thing that I'm going to do is I would break my phone out, set my stopwatch for 1 minute, and I'm going to step on the foot brake, and I'm going to hold it for 1 minute, and I shouldn't lose more than 4 PSI in that minute. So I'd step on the brake. You want to step on the brake first, then start your clock. It's got to be a minute. 59 seconds is a fail. They will be timing as well as your timing. So we're going to go well over a minute. I'm going to do a minute 5, minute 6, minute 7. All right. For the purposes of this video, we're going to pretend that time has elapsed. All right. I take my foot off the brake And I'm telling once again, I didn't lose more than 4 PSI during that minute. All right, my next step, I got to pump the foot brake down to 60 PSI. And at 60 PSI, my low air light and buzzer should come on. So you're just going to pump your foot brake, and you'll hear it because it's going to beep. There it is. And it says low air light and buzz came on at 60 PSI. All right, we're almost done. One more thing to do. I'm going to continue to pump that foot brake down. All right, between 20 PSI and 40 PSI, both my brake valves should pop out. So I'm going to pump the foot brake down, and I'm going to be watching for them to pop out. All right, and there they went. They popped out between 20 and 45 PSI. When they pop, that ends the air leakage test. So it's not. All right, so that finishes the air leakage test. All right, so once that's done, we have to do another safety start. All right, so we're going to tug on the brakes like that. We're going to check for neutral because we're not in neutral. I need to put it in neutral. And then we're going to start the engine. We don't need to let it cycle like we normally do because it cycled earlier. So we can just push the clutch down and turn it over. All right. Now, I'm going to raise the RPMs up to 1,000 and hold them there just to help the air governor kick out a little quicker to get rid of that annoying buzzer a little bit faster. Now, while we're waiting for that, I've completed the first thing on my list, so I'm going to check it off. Just draw a line through it, or check, or X, anything works, to show that I've completed this. All right, once again, we got to do that part right. It says right down here, automatic failure if not performed correctly. So if you do it wrong, they don't say, okay, you did it wrong, you failed on the spot. But if you close out the pre-trip and it's not correct, it will cause you to fail. So even if you're at the end of the tractor or end of the trailer getting ready to finish, and all of a sudden you remember, oh boy, I said 110 and 150 instead of 120 and 140 for the ranges. You have to go back and redo it. All right, you cannot do this halfway or 75%. It's got to be 100% correct in order for you to pass. All right, my low air light and buzzer went off, but we're gonna build the air pressure all the way up until the air governor kicks back out again. We got 3 brake checks to do. All right, and there it just kicked out. All right, so we've got the air and hydraulic brake check, and before we start, we have to be fully pressurized. We have the parking and trailer brake check, which is a tug test. Again, we have to be fully pressurized before we start. And then the last the brake check is the service brake check. And once again, same thing. We got to be fully pressurized before we start. So we are now. We're going to go to the parking and trailer brake check, commonly known as your tug test. So we're going to come here and we're going to push in one of the brake valves. It doesn't make a difference which one you push in. Whichever one you push in, you're going to tell the tester you're tugging against the other brake. I pushed in my tractor brake. I'm tugging against the trailer brake. Now, I'm going to put it in first gear. Make certain you don't have your right leg on the brake pedal. Because if you do, then all the brakes will be ignited. We just want to tug specifically against the trailer brake. I'm going to bring the clutch up. You're going to feel the truck rock. And then I'm going to push it back down. And then I'm going to say, my trailer brakes held. And then I'm going to switch. Pull out my tractor, push in the trailer. Now I'm tugging just against the tractor. Still in first gear. Same process. Bring the clutch up. Let it tug. There it is. All right, my tractor brakes held. Pull that out. Put it back in neutral. If not, you're going for a short ride. All right, and then release your clutch and check it off your list. Parking and trailer brake check done. All right, my next test is a service brake check. But once again, I can't start until the system's fully pressurized. It shouldn't take that long because we didn't lose much air during the tug test. But we rev it up and wait. There, it kicked out right there. So now I can start my service brake check. All right, so the first thing I got to do, because the service brake check, we're actually going to move the truck. So I need to get outside and remove the chocks. We can pause it there. All right. We just removed the chocks. So now I'm ready to do my service brake check. So I'm going to tell my tester, I'm gonna go forward 5 miles an hour. I'm gonna clutch in and stop, and the truck shouldn't rock to the left or the right, which means my brakes are properly adjusted. And then I'm gonna perform what I just said. So I'm gonna push in my brakes. I'm gonna do this in 4th gear so I get up to 5 miles an hour fairly quickly. Sometimes at DMV, we'll be in a line of trucks, there'll be no room to do it. If that's the case, they'll ask you to tell them about it. But if there's room, they'll have you do it. So we got plenty of room, so we're gonna go ahead and go forward. As soon as that needle gets up to 5, there it just did, clutch in and stop, just like normal. The truck did not rock to the left or the right, so my brakes are properly adjusted. Make sure to put it in neutral, set your brakes, pick up your checklist. Once again, we're gonna mark that off the list. That's the service brake check. That's how we do it. All right, now we're gonna walk right down the rest of the list and do everything it's telling us to do. So next up is lighting indicators. We're gonna check our inside light indicators. That's all we're checking here to make sure that the inside ones are working. Later, we'll check the outside ones. So, my left turn signal's working. My right turn signal indicator's working. My four-way flashes are working. I'm gonna turn on the lights and push my lever forward, and you can barely see it, but my high beam indicator is working. All right, that is my inside light indicators. I'm gonna check that off the list. Next up is emergency equipment. All right, so I have my emergency kit here. Right back here, I have 3 reflective triangles. Then I have my fire extinguisher, which is rated, dated, and fully charged and secure. And then in the truck, I have spare fuses and circuit breakers. That's my emergency equipment. Check that off the list. Next on the list, it says windshield and traffic monitoring devices. All right, so on the inside of the tractor, the traffic monitoring devices would be cameras. We're not equipped with cameras, so we don't even have to deal with it. We'll just talk about our windshield. So I'm gonna look at my windshield and say it's not chipped, cracked, or broken, not missing any nuts, bolts, or screws. It's clean and clear. My rubber seal is not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging, and I hear and see no leaks. That takes care of my windshield. Check it off the list. Next, I'm going to wipers and washers. So I'm gonna start first with my metal wiper arm. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Then I'm gonna go to my rubber blade. The rubber blade is not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. And then we have to show that the washers and the wipers work correctly. I'll go press this tan button at the end of the lever and hold on to it. All right, and they're working fine. All right, wipers and washers, I'm gonna check that off the list. Next, heater and defroster. But on today, I hate to even put that heater on, but we're gonna put it on for a second. Turn it all the way over to the heat. Turn this all the way over to defroster and heat. You want both of them on. Turn your fan all the way on and then wait a few seconds. It'll kick in, you'll hear it. All right, now they're working. You're gonna reach on top and say my defroster's working. Then you reach underneath and say my heater's working. And then we're gonna cut that back off because we don't want no heat. All right, that's good. Now, last on the list is horns. I'm going to blow my city horn, and then I'm gonna blow my highway horn. All right, horns are checked, that's good. All right, next on our list, light operations check, all external lights. So, you're gonna need the help of the tester. So you're gonna look at them and say, sir, ma'am, could you help me check my outside lights? And then we're gonna tell them all the lights that we're gonna check. So, let's start. Sir, madam, could you help me check my outside lights, my clearance, my ID lights, my headlights, high beam and low beam, my turn signals left and right, and my four-way flashes. As we go to the back of the tractor, the trailer, because they don't check the back of the tractor anymore. The back of the trailer, I'm gonna ask, could you check my marker light, my clearance light, my ID lights, my brake lights, my turn signals left and right, and my four-way flashes. And my brake lights, if I didn't say that. I felt like I did. I might have said it twice. All right. Then they say, okay, they're going to jump out of the truck. At that point, you're going to go ahead and roll your window down. you're gonna cut the truck off because they're standing in front of the truck engine, so you want them to be able to hear you. So cut the truck off, and then we got to cut it back to the on position for those signal lights and flashers to work. Wait for it to cycle, and then we can get started. All right, so we're gonna pretend he's out there in the front. I'm gonna lean out the window. Left turn signal. He gives me a thumbs up. Right turn signal. Another thumbs up. Four-way flashes. Low beams. And then high beams. And then they'll walk to the rear of the trailer. When they get to the rear of the trailer, my marker, ID and clearance lights. And we should have said, I think I did, but we'll up here say ID and clearance up here. In the back, marker, ID and clearance. And then we're gonna walk through left turn signal, right turn signal, four-way flashes, brakes. All right, and from here, we'll check that box off and we'll pick it up. We're on the outside of the vehicle. We're all done with the in-cab inspection. So now we'll go to the outside. All right, we are on the outside of the tractor and trailer. We're gonna pre-trip the entire truck and trailer. We'll start here at the very beginning and work our way down the list. First thing on the list, it says lenses. All right, this one's very particular. They wanna hear the word lenses. If you say light, they won't give you the point, but you're gonna be looking at lights. So I say both of them. All right, so I'm gonna call everything a light lens. All right, that way we get all the points. And so I'm gonna start with all my amber light lenses and I'm gonna point them out first. So we're gonna start here. Up in the corner of the top of the trailer is a clearance trailer light lens. Then I'm gonna come right here to the tractor. This one right here is a tractor clearance light lens. The three in the middle are my ID light lenses. This is a turn signal light lens. This is another turn signal light lens. I'm gonna come on this side next and finish them up. This is another turn signal light lens. Another turn signal light lens. This is my other truck clearance light lens. And that is my trailer clearance light lens. All right, I put them together because they're amber in color. They're not chip, cracked, or broken. Not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. All right, and I see no signs of condensation. That's my amber lights. Now, I got some more lights to handle. These are my headlight lenses. That's this one. This is my other headlight lens, right there. You gotta touch everything. That's why we use this stick. So you ain't gotta put your hands on everything, but you gotta touch a lot. Make sure to point. All right, so headlight lenses. They're not chip, cracked, or broken, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Clear in color, no signs of condensation. All right, that's my lenses. I'm gonna check that off my list. Next on the list is two boxes we're gonna work together. Fluid levels, fluid and air leaks. There's gonna be a lot of parts that fall under these two categories, so hang tight. We won't check them off just yet. So my next move is to go under the front of the truck and talk about what we call the COPS. COPS stand for coolant, oil, power steering fluid. So I'm gonna wave underneath the truck and say I hear and see no leaks, no drippings, and no puddling on the ground. All right. I'm also at this point in time gonna look at my tractor and say my tractor is not leaning to the left or the right. All right. Now we're gonna open up the hood. So, next up, we're under fluid levels, fluid and air leaks. We're still under that category. Whew, I'm gonna come into here. I need some windshield washer reservoir fluid, but I'll get some before we test. But here's our windshield washer fluid reservoir. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. It should be filled to the proper level. All right, my cap is secure. I got a tester that wants you to touch the cap when you say the cap's secure. So we got to touch these caps now. All right. Now, I also hear and see no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. That covers that. Then I'm gonna come step out and do a big circular motion, cover all my hoses. So all my hoses are not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. I see no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. And my clamps, fittings, there's another C word. Couplings, thank you. Clamps, fittings, and couplings are secure. All right, so again, your hoses, not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. Here and see no leaks, drippings, puddlings on the ground. And my clamps, couplings, and fittings are secure. That's all we cover on this side. We're going to the other side of the engine. We're still operating under the fluid levels and fluid and air leaks. Our next stop is our coolant reservoir. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. It's filled to the proper level. If it wasn't, I'd have to wait until the engine cooled, remove the cap, and fill it to the proper level. My cap is secure. And I hear and see no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. Next, I'm gonna come right on over here. This is my oil dipstick, and this back here is my oil fill tube. They're both not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Now I'm gonna tell them how I check oil. Pull the dipstick out, wipe it off, put it in, pull it out, and check the level. The level's good, we're done. If not, I can add oil through my fill cap back here, and this cap is secure. All right, there's no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. All right, next we are coming down to our power steering fluid reservoir. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. There's no leaks, drippings, or puddlings on the ground. My caps are secure. Remember, we're gonna touch them. All right, and then we're gonna cover our power steering hose. The hose is not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. There are no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. And my clamps, couplings, and fittings are secure. All right, then we're gonna do one last thing. We're gonna make a big circular motion over here and say all my hoses are not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. The clamps, couplings, and fittings are secure, and there's no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. Now, finally, I can take my pen and check off fluid level. If I can get my pen to right, and fluid air leaks. There she goes. All right, next on my list is the steering system. So that's where I'm headed to next. So the first thing we're gonna do is point it out from start to finish. So you start up here, and then you just drag your stick all the way down and all the way back there and say, that is my entire steering system. A few parts we gotta cover. We're gonna start right here. That is my coupling, my U-joint, and my my U-joint and socket. And my U-joint and socket is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Then I'm gonna come straight down here. This is my gearbox. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. I hear and see no leaks. Then we're gonna drop down right here. This is my castle nut and cotter pin. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws, and it is intact. All right, that covers my steering system. I can check that off my list. Once again, checking it. Now, next up, they say tires, rims, and lug nuts. I'm gonna skip those for right now. I'm gonna stay on the inside of the engine. I'm gonna go to my suspension, spring mounts, U-bolts, bags, shocks, and then I'm gonna go into my brakes from there. Then we'll come outside. So, starting with our suspension. This is my front spring mount. Then I have one in the rear, a rear spring mount. And then I have and I'm gonna put with that these U-bolts. That U-bolt there and there. All right, so you describe them. They're not bent, broken, and cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Then we're gonna go to our leaf spring, and that's right there. The leaf spring is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. All right, the leaf spring is properly aligned, which means it's stacked correctly, one on top of the other, and not a quarter of the leaf is missing, because if it was, I'd have to place the truck out of service. Well, one last piece to get, that's our shock absorber. Shock absorber is not bent, broken, or cracked. Not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. And I see and hear no leaks, drippings, or puddlings on the ground. That's our suspension. We can check that off the list. And next we are going down to the brake line or hose and leaks, and we're going to cover the brake contaminants. So we did cover hoses earlier, but once again D&B wants to hear about that brake hose specifically. So let's start there. This is my brake hose. It's not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. I hear and see no leaks. All right, and then we're going inside. I'm gonna get it positioned and I'll step back out. There we go. And that is the brake lining and the brake drum. The brake lining and the brake drum is not bent, broken, cracked, missing nuts, bolts, or screws. And I see no brake contaminants. Now we got to describe what type of contaminants we're talking about. So, say the cops: coolant, oil, power steering fluid, and then add grease. All right, that's what we don't see on the brake lining and brake drum. That covers our brakes. So we're gonna check that off the list. I can't stress enough, checking this list as you go will keep you from missing anything. If you see a check through it, then you know you covered it. Now, we're going back to the tire, rims, and lug nuts. That's where we're headed next. Got a lot to say about our tire. All right, here's how we're gonna do it. You're gonna start by saying there's no uneven tread wear. Then the tread depth of the tire is no less than 4/32. We would check that with a tread depth gauge. The side of my tire is rubber. It's not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. It's filled to the proper level, which is 100 psi. I would check that with a tire pressure gauge through the valve stem. And the valve stem is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. That's my tire. Now I'm gonna go right to my rim. My rim's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. There are no holes or wells other than factory. All right, and also have no elongated holes. All right, then we're gonna come to our lug nuts and studs. They're not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. All are present. All right. There's no signs of running rust that would indicate a loose lug nut. Present. All right, that covers our lug nuts and studs. So now I'm gonna check those three things off my list. Tires, rims, and lug nuts, all done. There we go. All right, so next on the list it says we're under the part where it says side of the vehicle, lenses, and reflectors. At this point, I've already covered all the lenses and reflectors, but we'll run into some more as we go down the truck. We're gonna leave that blank for right now. We'll check it off when we hit those. Next, I'm gonna go to my traffic monitoring devices. So on the outside of the truck, traffic monitoring devices would be our mirrors. So you're gonna point out the mirrors on the side of the truck and a mirror on the hood. And then you're gonna describe them. They're not chipped, cracked, or broken, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws, clean and clear. All right, that takes care of them. We're gonna check that off the list. Next, I'm headed to the battery and battery box. All right, so we will have to show them the actual battery and battery box. This is my battery box, and then you just pull this up, pull it out, and lift this up. These are my batteries. They're not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. All right, and we've got a lot to say. No corrosion, no electrical damage, and no exposed wires. And that covers the battery. Battery and battery box, not bent, broken, cracked, missing nuts, bolts, or screws. All right, so check that off the list. Our next stop is going to be our fuel tanks and def tank. I'm right here, so I'm gonna jump to my def tank first. All right, my def tank is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. My cap is secure, and I hear and see no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. Then we're gonna come right down to our fuel tank. All right, it's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. My cap is secure. Then we got to talk about the straps. My straps are not bent, broken, or cracked, missing nuts, bolts, or screws. I see no shiny metal that would indicate a loose or shifting tank. And I hear and see no leaks, drippings, or puddling on the ground. That's my fuel tank. That's my depth tank. I'll check those off the list. Next, we are going to frames. So we're going to do our truck frame and our trailer frame together. So you're going to point it out. This is my truck frame. Then you reach inside here and say, this is my cross member for my truck frame. And then we're going to come down here underneath, and we're going to say, this is my trailer frame floor. These are my cross members. And we're also going to say our cargo area. There are no holes in our cargo area. And then you're going to say all of it is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Again, there's no holes or welds other than factory, and no broken welds. All right, so make sure you say cargo area. That's something extra that you got to pick up for this part. That covers our frames. We'll go check that off our list. Next on the list is going to be air and electrical line connectors. So that's going to be our air hoses and our electrical line. We'll start with the air lines first. Going to hit both of them. Say they're not right there. They're metal, so they're not bent, broken, or cracked. Not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. They're firmly attached to the tractor. Then I'm going to follow them. They change. Now they're kind of plastic and rubber, so they're not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. As I continue to follow it, I run into the glad hands. That's these right here. They're not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Then in between the two glad hands are the rubber grommets. So right in the middle. All right, the rubber grommets is rubber. It's not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging. Then through all your airlines, you hear and see no leaks. All right, then we'll go to our electrical line. This is my electrical socket and plug. It's not bent, broken, or cracked. Not missing nuts, bolts, or screws, firmly attached to the tractor. As I follow the line, it's rubberized, so it's not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or burnt. We're going to switch bulging here for burnt. All right, there's no signs of electrical damage and no exposed wires. I'm going to come up to my electrical plug-in box here on the trailer side. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. It's firmly seated and locked in place. That covers my electrical and my airlines. So I'm going to check that off the list. All right, next up is going to be our fifth wheel. So on our paper, it says fifth wheel, skid plate, or pintle hook, or tow hitch, kingpin, apron, gap, or draw ring, and tongue, and or coupler and tongue, and locking and safety devices. So it's a whole lot, but we just got to cover the whole fifth wheel. All right, and then we get to check all those boxes off. All right, so going underneath, we're going to start with up top right here. This is called the trailer apron, and then this is our deck plate. We're going to describe them together. They're both not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. My deck plate is properly greased, and there's no daylight between the deck plate and the apron. All right, then I'm gonna come down to my platform. That's the triangle piece right underneath it, right there. The platform is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. All right, my deck plate sits firmly on the platform. And the platform itself has no holes or welds other than factory. And I'm gonna come down to these bolts right here. These are the mounting bolts. And I'm gonna say my mounting bolts are in place. All right, then from there, I'm gonna come around to the front side of the splash guard to my release handle. That's right there. The release handle is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. The release handle is in the lock position. Then I'm gonna drop down here. This is my sliding fifth wheel rail. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. Then I have 3 locking pins. All right, my locking pins are in the locked position. All right, they're also in the proper position so that the rear of the tractor doesn't hit the landing gear and turns. All right, now we're almost done with the kingpin and the 5th wheel, but we got to go underneath and talk about the kingpin and the locking joints. All right. All right, right down the throat of the 5th wheel, we find the locking jaw going straight across, and the kingpin is behind it. They're both not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws, and the locking jaw is locked around the shank of the kingpin and not the head. All right, we will check that off. I'm gonna also check these tail lights while I'm underneath. These are my tail lights for the tractor. They're red in color, not chipped, cracked, or broken, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. See no signs of condensation. And then we can come back out. All right, so let's check that off the list. And also, now, I'm gonna catch some reflectors. This is my DOT tape. It's not chipped, cracked, or peeling. Runs the side, whole length of the side of my trailer. Next stop, landing gear. It's not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. My feet are fully raised. There's no debris on my feet. Get that rock off there. There we go. And my crank handle is in the stowed position. Now, also got to talk about our cross members. They are not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws, and they are in good shape. All right, that takes care of my landing gear and clearance. We're coming on down. Our next stop is going to be our turn signal light lens. And I know I didn't say that back there with them tail lights. Tail light lenses. All right, remember, any light on the outside is a light lens. So this is my turn signal light lens, amber in color, not chipped, cracked, or broken. Not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. See no signs of condensation. All right, we're coming on down. All right, our next stop is going to be our sliding 5th wheel rail. That is right here. All right, my sliding 5th wheel rail is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. My locking pins are in the lock position. My trailer sliding tandem button is not bent, broken, or cracked, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. All right. Next stop, the easiest part on the entire pre-trip. If you forget the name of this light, well, I don't know what to tell you because it's marked right there. This is our ABS light. All right, it's not chipped, cracked, or broken. Not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. It's amber in color. I see no signs of condensation. Now I'm coming to some more, and yeah, that's my ABS light lens. And now this is my marker light lens, and I'm gonna put this together with a whole bunch of lights. This is my tail lights and turn signal light lenses. Then we go up top to my clearance light lens. The 3 in the middle are my ID light lenses. The other one on that side is my clearance light lens. And these are my other brake light and turn signal light lenses. Put them together because they're red in color, not chipped, cracked, or broken, not missing nuts, bolts, or screws. No signs of condensation. Then the last thing I'm gonna check is some more reflective tape back here. This is my DOT tape. It runs across the doors and it runs across my DOT bumper. It's not chipped, cracked, or peeling. So lenses and reflectors, check. Reflective tape, check. Now I'm looking at my list and I got checks all the way down. So now I know I've covered everything. So at this point, I'm gonna think one more time, did I do my air leakage test right? And I did. So I'm gonna tell the tester this completes my pre-trip inspection. That's it.
2.
All right, so this is your short correction video for your pre-trip, because it's a lot and you miss things or call things the wrong thing. This is your sliding trailer tandem rail. I think I said fifth wheel. All right, sliding tandem trailer sliding tandem rail. That is the exact name for this piece right here. All right. Also, as I'm looking at it, we should have chalked the wheels as soon as we got out of the truck. All right, so that's another error. Soon as when you get on the outside, you're gonna have to re-chalk your wheels. And then one last thing, up here on our fuel tank, you do have to talk about your fuel lines. All right, and we're gonna talk about them here, and we're gonna catch the ones here on the DEF tank. And you just say, these are my fuel lines for my DEF and my fuel tank. They're not cut, frayed, dry rotted, or bulging, and I hear and see no leaks, drippings, or puddlings on the ground, and my couplings, fittings, and coupling fittings and clamps are secure. So that should be it in its entirety. All right.